Welcome into the Hustle Show podcast, week number 10 of college football, week 9 NFL. We got the bets coming to you, brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com, the best tequila seltzer on the market. Check it out, coming to a state near you. Also powered by WagerTalk.com. Check out the best free live odds in the industry. If you're looking for the best sides and totals, that's at WagerTalk.com. Live odds screen. I am Drew Martin, joined by CT Bets, Adam Trigger, Kelly Stewart. We are bringing you big game breakdown. We got best bets as well, and a quick look ahead towards college basketball as we will be going through March Madness, doing the show, going around the horn here. Follow him on Twitter at CTBets16. Chris Thurston, Sports Map Radio, each Wednesday here at 6 o'clock Eastern on The Hustle. CT Bets, welcome in, bud. How you feeling?
Drew Martin Bets, I'm doing pretty well here. Didn't have a great showing on the show last week with the games I gave out, but the games I tweeted out on Saturday and Sunday did fairly well. And another winning week for CT. I'm ready to get right into the games. Drew Martin Bets. I got a best bet for my big game breakdown that I'm ready to dive right into, if you don't mind.
Why bury the lead? Let's get into it, man.
All right, Drew. So as everybody always knows, I usually try and give my best college bet and big game breakdown and my best NFL bet in best bets. I got to be honest, Drew, I don't love the card in the NFL. The one game I do like, Trig brought it to my attention, so I do not want to steal his thunder there. So I have two best bets, and they're for college. So I'll give one out in big game breakdown and one in best bet. And we'll head to the marquee matchup here, the Tennessee Volunteers at the Georgia Bulldogs. And this might catch people by surprise as I cashed my biggest win total bet last week on Rocky Top, over 7.5 wins. They blast the Wildcats to get 8-0, cash our ticket. Thanks to everyone who tailed, and congrats to all. But Drew, as much as I love this Rocky Top team here, I'm a realist and I like money more. And I think their undefeated season is coming to an end this Saturday in Athens. And I'm going to lay it here with the defending champs to get the job done at home, take care of the Vols. I said preseason that this Vols defense was going to be much improved, and it has been. They've been great. Unfortunately for them, I think they're going to finally get exposed by Stetson Bennett and the Dogs offense Saturday. The Vols, they lead the nation in total offense, and guess who's right behind them? The Bulldogs, yeah. The Vols, they haven't seen an offense like this yet, and they're going to be in for quite the surprise in Athens. Tight end Brock Bowers is going to be a big, big problem for this Vols D. I really don't think the Vols have somebody that's capable to cover him and contain him. Defense is going to be the big difference and the game breaker here, and there's a vast difference between the two clubs on D. The Bulldogs rank second in scoring defense and fourth in total defense. The Vols, they're tied for 26th in scoring D and 82nd in total D. The champs have won 5 straight in this series. I think they make it 6 straight. They're my number one team in the land. Drew Martin Bets, lay it -8 with the Dogs.
All right, go with the Bulldogs in between the hedges. CT Bet 16 in the house starting us off. We got Adam Trigger as well. Trig, where are you going for your big game breakdown, and what's on your mind, bud?
Thanks, Drew. Yeah, no, I'll get into big game breakdown in a minute. I had a great football week last week again. It's been a really good season. Entering this week, number one at WagerTalk and units gained for the Cappers there. So both of my 5% plays won over the weekend with the Saints, and Arizona getting through the back door against USC. And my best bet for the show won last week as well, Notre Dame. The teaser I tweeted out with the Texans on the final play of the game, Drew, getting inside the 8.5. Easy winner all the way, of course. And for big game breakdown, I gave out Notre Dame as my best bet last week on the show. I'll stick with Syracuse. We'll do Syracuse-Pittsburgh here in the ACC, and I wouldn't be that surprised if Syracuse gets hammered again here, guys. Like earlier this year, I kept giving Cuse out and hitting, and the reason was the schedule was very kind to them earlier in the year. They had some winnable non-conference games. They had an FCS game against Wagner that was essentially a week off, and a bye week before NC State, while all these other teams were playing tough conference games. They ended up getting a win over NC State in what was a great spot for them. They played their tails off at Clemson. And again, what was a pretty good scheduling spot for them because it was a bad spot for Clemson, who hadn't had a week off since the beginning of the season. Now the games are starting to pile up for Syracuse. This is the fourth sort of tough game in a row. NC State at Clemson, Notre Dame now at Pitt, and they never play well at Pitt. They've lost 17 of the last 20 against Pitt. They never play well at Heinz Field or whatever the hell it's called these days. I don't think it's still that. But listen, they're banged up. Schrader might not even play. He got knocked out of the Notre Dame game with a concussion. So we'll see what his status is. Sean Tucker, one of their best offensive players. I would say he's probably the second best player behind Gadsden, but he's their top rusher. He's carried the ball 35 times the last 3 weeks combined. I don't know what that's about, but I heard a rumor that he might be banged up. And now it just seems like the air out of the balloon guys for Syracuse. They were 6-0. Everyone was talking about them. They lose to Clemson. They get killed last week. Now they have to go on the road at Pitt. Pitt off back-to-back losses, 6-2 against the spread. I just don't see how this is a good spot for Syracuse. I'd lay the 3.5. I think you missed 3 at this point, probably. Even the 4, I'd lay 4. I think Pitt probably wins this game pretty comfortably.
All right, talking some ACC there and bringing up Syracuse losing into Notre Dame. Tell you the truth, that brings a good segue, Trig, to my big game breakdown. Last game on the card, not last game time-wise, rotation-wise on the betting card. Clemson at Notre Dame, -3.5. That's Clemson on the road. There is a -4 out there. I like the home dog here. Notre Dame plus the 4 if you can find it, +3.5. Guys, they're 4-1 their last 5 ATS against the spread as a home dog. Clemson, number 4 in the rankings. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't think we have to worry too much as college football fans. I actually think Notre Dame wins outright Saturday night. Give me touchdown Jesus. Give me South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame wins outright. Put the 3.5. Catch that 4 if you can. I like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Started out 0-2. That lost to Marshall. Guess what? They've won 5 of their last 6, heading in the right direction. Let's go Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And it's been too long since we've heard from Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas. Check her out, Barstool Sportsbooks, WagerTalk, YouTube, bet on it, and right here on The Hustle. Kelly, welcome in. Do you have a big game breakdown for us, and how are you feeling today?
Yeah, I guess you could call it a big game. I'm feeling pretty good. I had a really shitty Saturday, as everybody saw. Notre Dame was my lone winner. Thanks to Trig for putting that one on my radar early on last week. And I'm with you, Drew. I lean towards the Irish. I don't think I can get to the window with them. Ralph Michaels gave me an interesting stat about how poor that team is defensively. Once a team reaches the red zone, they're actually one of the worst red zone defenses. And that concerns me. Obviously, Clemson has some of their own offensive concerns. Trig knows. He was just there for the Syracuse game. So we'll see. Slight lean towards the under there as well. I'm with CT. I think the bottom falls out for the Vols here against the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm not going to be getting involved, but they look like a square dog to me. And there was one other one that I wanted to touch on, and it escapes me at this moment. But basically, my big game breakdown is going to be the K-State game. And it's not because I'm betting it. It's because a million people have been asking me about it. I have K-State over 6.5 wins, so I don't really necessarily think I need to bet this game plus 2.5. Open as a pick'em out in Vegas, and now the whole world all of a sudden seems super sharp. I love betting against ranked teams catching points here, and that is the scenario with Kansas State. I'm not sold on this Texas team, and I haven't been for pretty much my entire life. And that's not because I'm a Texas hater. That's because ever since I started betting games, I realized that there was an inflation when betting Texas, whether it was a half point, a point, 2.5 points. If you notice, I've been against them 3 times this year. I'm 3-0 against the spread when betting against them. And no, I haven't bet on them because I haven't found a spot. In hindsight, a great spot would have been Alabama. And that's now looking at Alabama from a week 10 perspective, not an Alabama from a week 2 perspective. So something to keep in mind there. But listen, Steve Sarkisian, I think even CT put this in or on Twitter. It was basically, look, this guy does not cover games on the road, 1-6 against the spread. As a road favorite, it's even worse. I asked Ralph Michaels, hey, Ralph, everybody thinks that the Longhorns are going to be so great. They're coming off a bye. Can you present me some data? So A team prior to going to their bye lost as an away favorite, goes into their bye, and now is an away favorite. 42% against the spread, and that is over 200 game sample size. I apologize, I do not have it in front of me, but Ralph will tweet it out, and I will give it out as well. But yeah, I just wanted to touch base on this K-State game. Is this a potential letdown spot for the Cats? Of course it could be. This is a K-State team that has overachieved in the eyes of many, not myself, because I did bet the over 6.5 wins. I was very hyped to see Adrian Martinez. Obviously, Adrian went out in the TCU game, but Will Howard pretty much filled in nicely. Obviously, when Will Howard went out in the TCU game, that was all she wrote. It was a 28-10 lead at that point in time, and it sucked, but it is what it is. I just don't see Texas being able to shut down this offense, and that's because the Texas defense, I think, is a little fraudulent. Yes, they look great on paper, but they can be exploited. And who exploited them? That's right, Joe Ranieri's, Spencer Sanders. That's who exploited them. So it sounds like it will be Adrian Martinez for the Wildcats on Saturday. But even if it's not, it's Will Howard. He still has one more game he can play before they have to basically revoke his red shirt. If you guys remember, I actually had to fact check this myself. It is 4 games. Now you're allowed to play in before they pull your red shirt. So even if he was to play this weekend, I don't think it's a point drop off. I don't think it matters, but by all means, it sounds like it's going to be Adrian, as he should be 100% to go.
Sure. Yeah. Good point with that red shirt there, Kelly, because that's going to come into effect for more than just him across college football. So something to watch there, guys. Hey, we got big game breakdowns. We wanted to go around the horn, just kind of hit on a bunch of the big games in college football and the NFL. So if you're watching live right now on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, feel free to fire out any games in the chat box. We'll try to hit as many as possible before we get to best bets. And like always, if you're liking the content, please smash that like button. CT Bets, one that I have my eye on here. Baylor Bears, Oklahoma Sooners, Oklahoma -3 in the hook, as high as -4 out there, 61 the total. I mean, I know Baylor lost at West Virginia, but the quarterback got knocked out. I have Baylor circled, man. I don't know if you have anything on that one, and if you had another big game.
Yeah, Drew, I totally agree. Before we went on the show, I was saying to my good buddy, our producer, Joe Ranieri, I was saying, Joe, I don't like coming on here and giving out Baylor every week. That's why I haven't given them out the last 2 weeks here, even though I bet them. But I bet the 3.5 already. I think, how can you trust this Oklahoma defense? I know I gave out Iowa State here last week on the show, and the Oklahoma D, I guess they held up, but the Iowa State offense really hasn't done much this year. I don't know how they're going to contain freshman running back Richard Reese. He's running wild. He took care of business over the Cyclones last weekend in Ames. You're right, Drew. Baylor got a tough break when Blake Shapen went out a couple weeks ago in Morgantown. He's been healthy now. He's playing well. I like Baylor out right here. They're getting something going. And Kel, I totally agree with you on K-State. I think both teams get the win. You and I are going to the game next week, and I think it's going to make for a great Big 12 matchup. It's the night game. Both of these teams want to keep winning games, and I think Aranda and Kleiman are the right guys for the job here. So, Drew, I'm with you. I like Baylor this weekend as well.
Yeah, side note really quick, Drew, before you get started, we're going to be at Stats in Southie on Saturday watching these Big 12 games. They're going to hate us. They're going to absolutely hate us. We're going to have a great time. We're going to whack a ton of Vivas. So if you guys are in Boston, want to come hang out with me and CT, should be a great time pending the outcome of those 2 games.
So you guys are back-to-back weekends hanging out together? The one in Boston.
I didn't plan this. I literally said, why would we go to Boston? I'm going to see CT the next week in Waco. And Brett goes, well, I'm not going to Waco, so let's go to Boston. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes, this is going to be really bad or really good. And it's going to be really bad for one of us on Saturday, the 12th, because I don't know who's a worse sore loser.
Yeah.
It might be me. It might be me. It might be me.
Yeah. Either way, we're going to have a good time. And then Saturday, like Kel said, we'll be at Stats. Kel will be giving out some Vivas here, and come out and join us. And we'll be watching the Georgia-Tennessee game, all the games on, and we'll take care of you guys. Come say hello.
Yeah, all Hustle fans. If you're in the Boston area there around Stats, is that where it is, CT?
Yeah, South Boston, Drew.
Okay, cool. And Kelly or CT, has the game time been announced yet for Baylor and Kansas State?
Yeah, I was the first one to get a text because I was kind of chomping at the bit, wondering when it was going to be. And I got the text about 20 minutes before it came out on the Baylor Instagram. K-State, 6 p.m. Central Time, plays Baylor in Waco. That gives us an entire Saturday to watch the other games, partake in some adult beverages, and try to keep my Aunt Helen from hating us.
Absolutely.
That's
going to be a fun
hate
time.
Noon games suck. Noon kickoffs are no, like you want it later in the day. That's way better.
I would agree. Night games, there's a little bit of a lure to it. Kind of get all amped up. As a K-State fan, I'm just so used to those like what we call 9 a.m. West Coast kicks. It's just like, you get used to it. But yeah, I mean, if it was a daytime game, I'd probably like K-State a lot better in it. But being a nighttime game in Waco makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah, I've always felt with college football, like night games give you more choices throughout the day. Like, do you want to go tailgate early? Do you want to watch other games? Whereas, like, if it's a 11 o'clock local kick, you don't have a choice. You got to get up and go to the game, So I like having choices in life, like with a lot of things, including college football and kick times here. Trig, we got big games, a bunch of them on the slate here, man. Alabama, LSU, Wake, NC State, Texas Tech, TCU. We got guys in the chat box right now. Drew Enger. Hey, what's up, Drew from the Sportsbook? How you doing, buddy? Thoughts on BYU and Boise State as well? As I believe this is the last time they're going to be playing with BYU heading to the Big 12. So, any thoughts on any of those games?
So, yeah, I have. Well, we'll keep kicking them around because we have some time. I wanted to hit a couple games that people had asked about on Twitter prior to the show, and we'll just try to get to as many as possible. The first one I'll talk about is UNC Virginia. I lean Virginia there. The problem is before I could really firm up my position there, it moved a full 2 points. So I agree with the move. I definitely think Virginia's probably the right side, and that move is probably sharp. If you think about it, Virginia's played excellent defense the last 2 weeks. I know that Miami game was a mess, but Virginia's defense has really stepped up. And if their offense is ever going to move the ball on someone, it would have to be North Carolina, who just gives up yards all day long. So I would lean Virginia plus the points there. The other one, tonight, Central Michigan, Northern Illinois goes off in a couple hours. I have a slight opinion there. Central Michigan was a team that was being talked about as a contender in the MAC West coming into the season. Now they're 2-6. Should they be a 6-point underdog in this game? I would say probably not. So a couple dogs there that I lean toward are Virginia plus the points at whatever it currently is. I think 7.5. And Central Michigan, I would take the 6 if I was forced to bet the game tonight.
Quarterback issues with both of those games, Trig. With Northern Illinois, Lombardi's a banged up, something to watch there. And actually it goes in 40 minutes, less than 40 minutes. So actually people watching the show might actually know if he's out there practicing. And also maybe working a little bit against you, Trig, what Armstrong, the lefty quarterback for Virginia, he left last game. I'm not sure how big of an impact that would have, though.
Drew, I would just I'm straight up just banking on anyone that Virginia trots out there being able to move the ball against North Carolina enough to keep them in that game, because it's the bet is on Virginia's defense. I played Virginia for a best bet 2 weeks ago against Georgia Tech. Their defense won them that game in spite of how poor the offensive played. And again, I just, last week I was on Miami last week and I was on the wrong side there. Even though they had a chance to win at the end, Virginia was the right side in that game. They've just played a lot better, Drew. I think they'll figure it out enough to stay within the number. That's my sort of take on that Virginia game.
Yeah, tough to get any worse on offense than the Who's so far this season. So I'm with you. Like when a quarterback goes down and you have that bad of an offense, I mean, how big of a drop off can it really be? You could say that about the Miami side as well. With Van Del, he was touted so highly, but it's not like he's that great. And their backups, the top recruit that they've had at the quarterback position in the last 2 decades, the kid Garcia that his last start was in the Georgia State championship game. He's out there running around. I almost feel like he gives them a spark. Talking about the Hurricanes and the Sunshine State battle against Florida State. Wanted to say for the hustle listeners out there, if you're in South Florida, that's one of the games to go to just because it's a unique atmosphere that you really don't see across college football in terms of, I don't know, just wild wildness in terms of tailgating, getting ready for the game. And Miami Hurricanes games don't always have a lot of people attending them. They will have a lot for Florida State because there's a lot of Florida State alumni in South Florida. But hey, did anybody else want to throw out any big games before we get to college basketball and best bets?
Yeah, Drew, I got one more because I wanted to get Kel's thoughts on this one here. See if we're on the same page. Big 12, it's a noon game here. And obviously, we had a tough one last week. Both of us, her and I, were on West Virginia. This TCU team keeps on just kicking us in the mouth. I've been looking at this Texas Tech Red Raiders team here and grabbing the points. I mean, I know we thought that we would have got the money last week with Westva here, but I don't know. It seems like a spot I kind of want to play. Tech coming in the TCU, the sleepy noon kick, grab those points. TCU, I just don't get it. They just keep sneaking by. I want to grab those points, Kel. What do you think?
Of course I want to grab the points, but this is the exact same thing that I said last week about West Virginia. The home road dichotomy is just out of control. If this was a game in Lubbock and they were catching, let's give them 6.5, right? Because 3.5 points for home field advantage, or however you want to say that, I would be all over the Red Raiders. But 9.5 in Fort Worth, coming off that terrible loss to Baylor. I mean, they were 1.5 point favorites at home. And yeah. I did lean towards Baylor. I told everybody, I remember Megan Making Money was like, hey, Cal, do you like Baylor? I love Baylor this week. I'm like, slight nod towards Baylor. Looks like it could be like a coin flip type game. And Baylor just throttled this team. I'm not sure they have anything left in the tank. I mean, yes, you're going to go play the number 1 team in the Big 12, the top 10 in the college football playoff. You're going to go play the team that nobody else can seem to beat. By all means, yeah, I don't love it. I don't love what I've seen from Tech, and that is just because they seem to have just kind of fallen off a cliff, if you will. They got up big for Texas, which was a great home win. They've showed some grit here and there, but every time they go on the road, including to my alma mater, where I know a lot of people like Texas Tech, everybody texts me like, I can't believe you're not taking Texas Tech against K-State. Well, the reason why was because the game was in Manhattan. I just can't trust this team on the road, so I am going to pass. But yeah, they were one of the first teams on my list. Okay, let me dig in deeper here to the Red Raiders and see if they can't figure something out.
Yeah.
Cal, real quick, I forgot. I just wanted to throw this out because Chris touched on Baylor earlier. The Mark Lawrence trend is in play again this week. It's now 20-1. Baylor. Which one? It's the Baylor as an underdog against a team that came off like a straight up and against the spread win. It's like 20. It's now right, because Baylor was 19-1 and it hit last week and now it's in play again. So that's I forgot I read that earlier. That plays in favor of Baylor. 20-1 the last 21 times they've been in this spot.
And I do like Baylor this week. Lean toward them on that side. But that's just because Oklahoma's finally done what?
Yeah.
They haven't really still impressed me. Sure, they went into Ames, and that's my best bet we'll get to here in a minute. But I'm not sure that I trust I just can't. I really can't. I'm not sure I can trust this Red Raiders team. I'm trying to find my notes and see what I had written down besides just the paraphrasing I just had with CT. I'm definitely not laying it with TCU. I think they're definitely overvalued in this spot. I think the game should be closer to like 7.5 or 8. I cannot trust this team, unfortunately.
Drew, sorry, go ahead, Drew.
No, just on this game, actually. I watched a lot of that Texas Tech Baylor game, and I almost feel like I know the Bears are your team, 45-17. Like, it just kind of snowballed on Texas Tech a little bit. Like, I do think Texas Tech is a lot better than they showed against Baylor. I know the interceptions started to rack up, and kind of the coach throwing in, 3 different quarterbacks. I believe all 3 threw an interception at one point. I would look for them to kind of play better. Plus the fact, they're 4-4, TCU 8-0, and we're seeing money come in on the underdog, Texas Tech. That's kind of something that you don't see a lot in the betting markets. Although TCU, their offense, top 5 passing, number 20 in total offense. They did win last year 52-31. And it's almost one of those things like I like Texas Tech a lot, but could I put them on my card and put my money on them going against TCU? I don't know. Sometimes teams in college football, they just get on these runs, guys, and it's just like stay away or bet on them. But I don't,
That's kind of my thing with TCU. I've bet against them a couple of times now and going, all right, like they're just going to keep covering. I mean, please remember, I think I had this team projected to finish 6th in the Big 12. I'd have to find that note sheet somewhere around here. But in full disclosure, I mean, I didn't see this TCU team coming. I didn't at all.
Yeah, I thought Sonny Dykes was in for a little rebuild for a couple of years. I got to tip my hat to him. He's
Max Duggan looks great. This offense
he wasn't even the starter. Duggan wasn't even the starter at the beginning of the year.
Or Duggan, thank you.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, trust me, I love stepping in front of those freight trains. But after last Saturday, I mean, that definitely took the wind out of my sails, and I didn't win another game after it. So it was kind of one of those spots where I said, all right, I'll take my Sonny Dykes beating and move on with it. But, yeah, trust me, I've got several dogs here, but every single one of them is disgusting. Every single one.
Drew, what I was going to say before we kept on talking about that one, because our buddy Drew from Circa, he chimed in and asked about the BYU Boise State game. And I'm done playing on or against that BYU team. I had them, Joe and I had them last Friday against East Carolina. And they have just disappointed after that 4-1 start. They've been stomped. But I'm also not in a rush to lay 7.5 with Boise State. So that's I know he asked about it. That's a pass for me. No interest in that game.
Fair enough, CT bets. And last thing on the Texas Tech game, TCU. What about the over there? Anybody have an opinion? I mean, I kind of feel like Texas Tech will get it rolling. TCU's offense. Anything on that, Kelly? Not really.
I'm looking at it, Drew. I don't think I want to touch the under. I'll tell you that much. The question is what? Yeah, I mean, look. If we're looking at this TCU team, they're both teams are 6-2 to the over. TCU's 4-0 to the over this year at home. I don't want to touch any part of the under, but I think a lot of people are really expecting this game to go flying over the total. At 69, I'm going to stay away. 4 Texas Tech's last 5 games that went over. I mean, these teams just blindly looking at some stuff. Yeah, no, I'm not touching the under. I can see why everyone would like the over, though. I mean, it just makes sense. And it's like kind of we're back to that Big 12 old adage where nobody plays defense. Well, there's 2 teams that play defense, but for the most part, it's not the 2 teams we're talking about there. TCU definitely can match scores with anybody, and Texas Tech has sometimes we've seen some firepower from their offense, so I could see that. I could see it being a 49-31 game, and nobody would be shocked. Not a single soul in the world.
Yeah, get way up and over that. Also, in the Big 12, kind of 10s over. Guys, huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live here. We got Adam Trigger, CT Bets, Kelly Stewart. I am Drew Martin. Do want to let everybody know we got college basketball starting next week. So not a whole lot of time just to kind of mess around. No wedding talk. We did hear you in the reply section and in the chat box. Sorry about that from last week. And hopefully doing a better job hitting a bunch of games now and going forward all the way through March Madness. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern time right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, wherever you're downloading your podcasts at. The Hustle Show podcast. We're also brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. If you use the coupon code HUSTLE at checkout, it gives you 10% off. Only 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 4.5% ABV. Viva, the perfect drink for your post-game or pre-game celebrations. It's fun to drink, hey, maybe at the Baylor and Kansas State game at Stats this weekend if you're in the Boston area.
I'm not bringing it in my suitcase. CT's going to have to bring it himself. I can't do it. I'm barely coming with anything to Waco, Texas, let alone a suitcase full of Viva. He's in charge.
Trig, sorry for cutting you off, man. Go ahead, and I guess we got best bets now.
Yeah, no, I was going to try to squeeze real quick around. I wanted to squeeze in Kansas, Oklahoma State because I saw sharp money on Kansas all week. Does anyone have an opinion on that game? Kansas?
I'm not betting Oklahoma State
Kansas?
again. I just lost money betting on them plus 1.5 and lost by 46.5 points. That hurts. So I'm done with them.
I'll give you a couple words.
Fair enough.
Kansas is still a basketball school. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this, Trig? I don't have a big opinion here, but this would be the ultimate. Well, okay, you could say the same thing for the K-State game. It's the ultimate sell high, ultimate buy low. I mean, it would be a very buy low spot. I would guess if you asked me what this line was in July, I would say Oklahoma State minus 17.5.
Yeah,
that's probably pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a huge opinion on it either. I just wanted to try to squeeze one more game in. But go ahead.
But you saw sharp money. Is this the same sharp money that you usually share on Wednesday nights that loses? Because I'm here for it.
No,
I'm sure Joe Ranieri is as well.
I actually kind of just I don't know that I totally agree. I just know it got hit. But again, it's we talked about this. This is like an early week move. So this game's not till Saturday, right? So I can't even say they might come back and play Oklahoma State closer to kickoff. I really just wanted to see if anyone had the opinion because I certainly wouldn't follow that right there as it being, but I was just surprised that Kansas was getting any sort of play because I would agree with you. I would think it would be the spot for Oklahoma State just based on the fact that the look ahead line being so far off.
All right, Trey, you want to hit college hoops real quick before we go on the best bets?
Yeah, I mean, season starts Monday, guys. Believe it or not. Monday, full slate of college hoops. So this is really be our only time to talk futures. I was running around trying to get futures in for me and CT. New York sportsbooks just not taking bets, but that's a whole nother story for another day. Couple that we like. I actually taught, Chris bet this a long time ago, of course, but I agree. I love Baylor this year. We got 18-1 earlier today at a book in New York. It's probably not that wherever you're betting at this point. I think it's probably 14, 15, 16-1. They're definitely in my opinion, they're one of the top 5 teams in college basketball. You can get 18-1 on that. That's pretty good. And one I like personally. So we did a whole guide for WagerTalk. It's up. I believe it's on Ralph Michaels' page where you can get it for free. I think there's a conference breakdown for every conference. I wrote up the Pac-12, and Oregon is 6-1 to win the Pac-12 at a couple different spots right now, which I think is wild because I don't think they're worse than UCLA or Arizona, who are the 3 clear top teams in the Pac-12 this year. So do you want plus 180 with UCLA or Arizona, or do you want 6-1 with Dana Altman, who's the best coach in that conference? I like Oregon out there. CT had a couple others that we bet today that he liked. You want to talk about those, Chris?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple that we bet, you and I, today. Tennessee, we bet 30-1. There's some 35, 40-1s too, if you shop around. And I also like Chris Beard in Texas. I think you're getting a nice number there at 30-1. They had some key losses with Andrew Jones and Courtney Ramey. He transferred, but they got some key adds, Trig. I love the addition of Tyrese Hunter, could shoot the lights out. He transferred in from Iowa State. And Sir Jabari Rice, I believe I'm saying that right, the guard that transferred in from New Mexico State, and 4 freshmen that are going to have immediate impact, including the 5-star recruit, the forward Dylan Mitchell. He's one of the top players in the 2022 class. So I think Chris Beard could be very, very dangerous. So watch out for the Longhorns. But yeah, like you said, Trig, I bet Baylor a long time ago. I have 20-1. I think it's going to be the best backcourt in the nation with Flagler, Cryer, and George. If you don't know the name Keontae George, get to know it. It's the highest rated recruit in program history. And they'll get back LJ Cryer, who was hurt all last year, JTT, who was hurt the second half of the year. And they have Langston Love back, who was the 4-star recruit who tore his ACL in the preseason. So I think Baylor is going to be right there again this year.
Yeah.
Good CVB talk.
One more
there.
team.
Yeah, it's starting on Monday,
One more
right?
team, Drew, one more team I think is really live. You can probably find nice prices. You can bet this a number of ways. I think Xavier has a chance to win the Big East, and they're not getting really talked about. It's all UConn, Villanova, Creighton, but Villanova is a mess. Big transition year for them. I don't see how they win it. And Creighton, just way too hyped up, in my opinion, Drew. I would roll with either UConn or Xavier in the Big East, and Xavier's the longer odds. Sean Miller back in town. I think he's going to have that team pointed in the right direction, and if he gets it going quick, they could win that conference. So there's one more.
College basketball tipping off on Monday. It's kind of cool how the World Series ends. College basketball comes front and center. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. We got a bunch of people in here. Keith, Cheshire Cat, Roger Long. People talking about,
are they
Kelly
hating
Stewart
us a little less this week?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There's a lot more positivity from the chat box.
I never read the comments. I refuse. I just don't care. But I guess it is important to listen to your audience from time to time. So we listened. I tried to not interrupt Trig and CT, and just give you guys some winners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we even got Zach in here asking if you'll look into marrying him, even, Kelly. So you're having a lot of you're getting a lot of love here in the chat box for sure.
That's great.
You chat. Hey, Zach, anything's welcome in the chat box. It helps us out.
Oh, yes. You say whatever you want because I'm never going to read it, and it helps the algorithm. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we got and Cheshire Cat saying no, don't marry him, Kelly. So it's some plus and minus. We do have a question for you, CT Bets. Keith saying, are you betting the Bayou Bengals with me this weekend?
Well,
Alabama,
Keith, I think
LSU.
you're going to have to stick around 5 more minutes because that game happens to be my best bet. So,
whoa.
Ooh. All right. Well, hey, it's time for best bets now. So I guess we got to get into it. And looking at the rotation order here, we got best bets coming to you live. We got Adam Trigger starting us off. We're going in order here, and he's got a Viva contest for us this week. So follow him on Twitter at TopFlightSI. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. Adam Trigger experts page. Trig, final thoughts, best bet, Viva contest, man.
Yeah, so everyone loves the underdog contest. So let's run it back this week. Had a couple weeks without it. First off, Rob from Canada, we still have not gotten your information. I don't know how the heck we're going to get you the Viva. Maybe Uncle Benny mule it back for you, but we will figure out how to do that. But Rob from Canada, we're still waiting for your info, and we'll figure out how to get you your Viva. He won a couple weeks ago, and now we're going to go right back to it, guys. Remember, you got to be following Viva, follow WagerTalk, follow The Hustle, and you can do it on the show link. I'll also tweet out the contest. You can do it on that link as well. We're looking for the biggest underdog winner of the college football week. Now, you could use tonight's games if you wanted, but I would suggest that you don't, because almost every week it's a double-digit underdog someone gets. So I would look for those double-digit dogs because there's plenty of them on Saturday, and whoever gets the biggest one wins. So I'll tweet out a tiebreaker. I'm not sure what the tiebreaker is going to be yet. We're looking for one winner. So get your picks in. It's just the biggest underdog winner, and that's by the spread. So we go by the spread for the biggest underdog winner, meaning if like plus 15, they got to win outright. If that wins outright, you win the Viva. And like I said, we'll get it to you one way or the other. You want to talk? Someone said the term disgusting dog in the earlier part of the show. And this will qualify. My best bet for the show is the Houston Texans. Plus 14 tomorrow night. That's just way too many points, guys. It's way too many points. The Eagles are poor against the spread as a road favorite outside of their of the NFC East. And they're 0-6 against the spread prior to playing on Monday Night Football. Now it's moved to 2 touchdowns. That's insane. I know the Texans, listen, they're not a great team, but they're still an NFL caliber team that's hung around in games. The Eagles just saw the Tennessee Titans run, and win without much issue. I could see a scenario where the Eagles just kind of run the ball, control the clock, lead on their offensive line. They know it's a game they're probably going to win. But I will say this: the Texans have fought hard. They've fought hard in games. They don't give up. As we know, last week, as we cashed our teaser after they did nothing the whole game, drove down the field and scored with about 13 seconds left to get inside that 8.5 for the teaser win for the Texans last week. So listen, primetime game, I'll take the 14 points. I think the Texans are going to play hard, and I think they probably cover the spread that's just way too big.
And Trig, just in case people didn't understand, how do they enter the contest with the biggest dog?
Yeah. So you can all you have to do is quote tweet the link to this show or the tweet I put out about the contest. Either is fine. Just a quote tweet of one of Hustle's tweets, either the link to the show or the contest that I'm going to post later in the week. Either works. And just give us your biggest underdog. And let's do this. For the tiebreaker, let's go total points in the Sunday night football, in the Chiefs Titans game. That's Sunday night, right? That's the Sunday night game?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, total.
Low scoring.
Closest to the pin. So closest you get to that number, total points in Chiefs Titans, which CT and I think the Chiefs are probably going to roll in that game. I know someone else asked for an opinion there. I think the Chiefs pound them. Yeah, that'll be the total number of points in that game for the tiebreaker.
All right.
Okay. Total in that game right now, as it sits, 46.5. Tennessee at Kansas City Sunday night. So just quote the tweet, guys, with your biggest underdog on the college football slate. It could be tonight, could be Saturday, Friday night, Thursday night, football all night long. Every night of the week now, Kelly. It's kind of awesome, but it's a lot to keep up with as a sports bettor. Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Check her out at Barstool Sportsbook. She does the show Money Shots with Megan Making Money on Bet On It right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel and part of the Hustle as well. Kelly, final thoughts, best bet for the show?
Yeah, for this show, I'm going to pivot. I gave out a different best bet. I actually gave out a touchdown favorite on Bet On It earlier because I needed some more time to work on these dogs. I know Trig just mentioned there's a ton of double-digit underdogs, but like, can Arizona State win outright? Can Indiana win outright? Can Auburn win outright? Can Michigan State win outright? No, and no. And so I've now had to dig a little bit deeper. And the first leg of my parlay is actually going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes. So I had about an hour break from Bet On It to here, and I said, I'm doing it. We saw some nice reverse line movement. Came down from 5.5 to 4.5 in opening. But more importantly, who the fuck is Jeff Brom to be a 4.5-point favorite to a team who has been favored over him 13 of the last 14 times? I understand Iowa is just bad. They are ugly to watch. It is terrible. I don't even want to watch this game. But this is the kind of game Kirk Ferentz is going to win. You know why? Because he needs to save his job. And if it's not to save his job, it's to save his kid's job. This is ugly. This is gross. But I would not be surprised to see Iowa come away with a win. Don't forget they did lose last year as 11-point underdogs. We were on the Boilermakers, if you guys remember. So little revenge, if you will, here for the Hawkeyes.
All right. Well, Hawkeye action there in the Big Ten from Kelly Stewart. Guys, I'm going tonight's action, 13 minutes till kick. So, hey, if you're watching live, hopefully we grab a winner here. And if you're watching on replay, hey, try to get us next week. Getting some action here. CMU and Northern Illinois, top of the card here tonight. 55 being the total. Northern Illinois is minus 4.5 at home. We talked about it a little bit at the top. Do like the chips as the side, little bowl of chips there with Central Michigan. But actually, for my best bet, I'm going 55 to the under. Central Michigan, 5 of their last 6 have finished under. Northern Illinois, each of their last 2 have gone under, including last game against Ohio. Ohio's kind of a up and down the field team, the Bobcats. That game just finished 24-17. So, I could see this one even finishing lower than that. Overall, Northern Illinois, a little bit banged up there at the quarterback position with Lombardi. Even if he plays, I don't think he's 100%. So 55 as the total, guys. The first week of MAC, we saw it last night, in terms of falling below the total. I know it went 1-1, but the Kent State game fell more than 10 points below the total. I think there's something to these MAC teams with the extra preparation time. Keep in mind, they didn't play Saturday. They played the Saturday before they play the midweek, and defense is getting the extra prep time on the video to kind of help them out, preparing for each offense. So I like the under 55 tonight, Central Michigan, Northern Illinois, and it kicked in 11 minutes. So hopefully that cashes. Throw it over to CT Bets 16, Chris Thurston, Sports Map Radio, and right here on The Hustle. CT, what do you got for best bets and final thoughts?
All right, Drew Martin Bets. I know we're up against it, but we have a little bonus here. Owner of Viva Seltzer, Steve Thurston, he came on the show last week. He gave a winner, and he texted me. He goes, "Do you mind if I give you another one? I'm going to keep it going." So he gave it to me, and he has got a little brief breakdown. He says, "Give me Grayson McCall and the Chanticleers tomorrow night, Thursday night, +3. Big revenge game that cost them a spot in the Sun Belt title game last year. App State won 30-27 last year in Boone as 4.5-point dogs. Grayson takes care of business tomorrow night." I like that as well, little brother. All right, here we go. This is what Keith wanted here. We're going to head to the other marquee matchup in the SEC. LSU, a team I was pretty high on preseason, gave it out over 6.5 wins on this show, which looks pretty promising to cash. Both these teams had a much-needed bye week last week to rest up. There's a lot more pressure riding here on Nick Saban and the Tide than there is on the Tigers. Bama, they're going to need to win out and win the SEC championship game in order to get into the playoff. On the other side, Chip Kelly and the Tigers, they're going to be trying to step in their way and ruin the Tide season. And there's nothing more than Chip Kelly would like to do in his first season than that. We saw the Vols beat this Bama team a couple weeks ago. This Bama team, they're not invincible. They can be beat. They're also very undisciplined, and they're one of the most penalized teams in the country. I think this LSU team can cause a lot of trouble for the Tide. Jaden Daniels is the perfect QB to beat the Tide. He's that run and gun style trigger man. The Tide, they've had a tough time against running able quarterbacks. Tide also struggle on the road. We saw that early in the year versus the Horns, and then recently against Rocky Top. I just think this is too many points to lay here, and I have to back Brian Kelly and the Tigers getting 13.5. It might end up being a square dog, but shit, what did I say a couple weeks ago when I gave Rocky Top out over the Tide? I know this is a shock to a lot of people, but square dogs and public favorites sometimes win. Tigers plus 13.5 for CT.
CT Bets. I'd say more than sometimes. I know Kelly Stewart.
You know what's weird? Really quick, I want to add to that before we go. I agree with you, CT. Public dogs and obviously public favorites, which most favorites are, win all the time. I think the worst is, and it happened last week with Kentucky, and this is no disrespect to anybody here or anybody else that was on Kentucky with me, but that where it's like almost like a sharp square dog, like all the sharp guys I know and respect. When we all like the same side, I'm like, fuck. Like a couple weeks ago,
too sharp play.
That's too sharp.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather be on a square dog than the like sharp square, because like every sharp person that I know, love, and respect love Kentucky. 2 weeks before that, it was UCLA. 2 weeks before that, it was Penn State. And I'm like, fuck, why do I keep picking these sharp square dogs as opposed to just the square ones? Because, you know, I liked Tennessee initially, and I stayed away from them against the Tide because I thought they were a square dog.
Yeah.
Chris and I joke about this every week.
All the time.
There's one every week. Jaguars the other week, they were a favorite against the Giants, but everyone I knew.
You know who everyone's going to be on this week? Texas. I can't wait for it. It's already happening.
Oh, yeah.
So many people. We get these newsletters over at WagerTalk, and I just love reading through, and I'm like, really respect this guy's opinion. He likes Texas. Do the show with Marco and Joe. He likes Texas. Okay, great. So I have a feeling that Texas could be that sharp square favorite.
Yep, I totally agree. Drew,
I'm glad you brought that up, Kelly.
Drew, before you close it up, join Kelly and I at Stats on Saturday. If you're in the Boston area, My good friend Dan Lifshatz, who's on 98.5. He's going to be joining us. Steve Thurston, the owner of Viva, cannot make it, but fortunately,
I found that out today from your mom that he's going to be here, and I'm like, what? What is he doing?
In Florida or something. But Cal, fortunately for you and I, my wife Amanda works for Viva and has Steve's credit card. So come on down. Kelly will be handing out some Vivas, and we'll be whacking some winners. Kel and I were talking. We both really liked the card this weekend. So we're going to have some winners for you and some Vivas. So thanks for all the support.
Absolutely. Go check that out, guys. Sounds like a lot of fun. Wish I could go as well. And huge shout out to the chat box. Over 300 people watching live right now on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, not including on Twitter as well. We appreciate each and every one of you and all the funny comments in here. I almost can't keep up. People watching from all over the world, really. Canada is in the house. Paulo. We got William Law asking me Auburn plus the points. Wanted to ask a fellow Auburn guy. Actually, Auburn doesn't travel west very well, William, and it's really not our year. Although the change at the coaching position, you never know. Sometimes teams bounce back from that. I'm not going to bet it. Just be rooting it on as a fan. Also, guys joking about Oklahoma State last week. Yes, no, Drew does not like to be slapped in the face twice. The Cowboys. But guys, we got to go through this chat box. So many funny things to throw out. So appreciate it. Each and every Wednesday, 6:00 Eastern time. CT Bets, Adam Trigger, Kelly Stewart. We're brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. Go to vivatequilaseltzer.com. That's where you can order it. And it's the best tequila seltzer on the market. Also, 0 sugar. You don't get much of a hangover at all. Takes 10% off with the coupon code HUSTLE. Check out WagerTalk.com when we're talking about all these sides and totals. That's the live odds page, WagerTalk.com. Best free live odds in the business. For Kelly, CT, Adam Trigger, I am Drew Martin. Viva Tequila Seltzer. Thanks for tuning in. Smash that like button. Feel free to reply below. Cash those tickets.